Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seats. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Good evening, morning,
Well,
whatever it
once
is for
again,
you
it's time, my friend.
in the Southern Fried Podcast Galaxy. We're going to say Galaxy. You know, it's just, I like the sound of that. Wherever you're at, we can reach you by way of internet. Somehow we'll get to you. We'll find you. We're searching you out. We're going to do, Robert, another Momma Said tonight.
Oh, no. Does that mean I'm going to get a leg strapping?
Well, maybe. You know, this is one of our feature programs. One of the very first things we did was Momma Said. We've been really busy putting together a lot of things, and I said, we got to do a Momma Said. You said that, and we're doing it now. And so we've got others Momma Saids in the can. And Robert, I'll just say we weren't going to give any information away here, but Momma Said might come up later in some interesting releases that we're going to talk about. We'll just kind of leave that right there. Momma Said is a feature of this program and always will be. And we're working on some stuff. Maybe a little merch items. We just ain't going to talk about it, but we like it. So we're working a lot behind the scenes. Want to thank our, he's a friend to me, but he's related to you, Chris. And he's done a lot of work behind the scenes. And I'm sorry, I can't remember Chris's last name. I just call him Chris.
Yeah. We'll just call him Chris.
Just call him Chris.
I'm Robert. He's Chris.
And he's your brother-in-law? Is that right? Brother-in-law?
He's my ugly brother-in-law.
Ugly brother. I'm not going to say that. Well, you know, he lives up here near me, dude. I mean, you know, there's hours between you and him. There's minutes between him and me, you know.
Well,
and he knows some. By the way, he's going to help us arrange a really cool future interview with some folks that's connected to firearms training and stuff like that. So be some great stories, you know, just talk about getting officially trained and stuff in the work and background. We love people stories, the biographies. I'm a big fan of that. And we're not going to get into crazy stuff. I'm talking about people that they put their life on the line and they're trying to train people. And I think that's cool. But Robert, Momma Said, what did Momma say?
my mama told me I better be home by the time shortly after the street lights came on.
Shortly after the street lights came on. So sometimes when yeah, and we didn't listen sometimes.
Yeah, no.
Well, you know, so sometimes we say Momma said this. This is our name. So everybody, his is different. We'll go into that. So I'm going to tell mine, and he's kind of mentioned his. He might want to say how that was said a little bit, expand on it. But a lot of us neighborhood kids, there was a bunch of us boys, and we, of course, in the good weather times, it was really bad weather. We was in way before dark. Dark was at dark 30. You better be in the house, you know. Well, we didn't listen, but we'd sit up on a hillside. We'd play. And you just got used to it. It's like knowing you don't have to have a time clock or an alarm. You just know when to get up. Your body says, hey, it's whatever time you get up. So we knew about the time our moms would start calling us. So we'd all just be sitting up on this hillside. And what we would do is we'd wait till every mom called us in. So it might be my mom first. It might be my neighbors or, you know, but you'd hear this echo of voices that came out. Now, I'm not going to recreate it because it would sound awful and it'd blow your eardrums out on you know, your headphones or earbuds or whatever. But I'm gonna say what happened. So in my case now, and a lot of people don't know this, so outside of my family, and I may just have to change it on here now. I may be doing something that's going to change my future here as far as names. But my family always calls me Davy. To this day, I'm still Davy. I'm not Dave. I'm not David. I'll get brother. I'll get, you know, but Davy and Davy. And I only had one person outside my family, and it was a guy that I worked with. He called me Davy. He heard about that at the funeral home. My dad passed away. But anyway, they would step out and they would holler your name, Davy, come home now, or something like that. And so you waited as long as you didn't want to hear your daddy's voice, but you'd wait as long as you could and would say, well, there's the first one. And then the neighbor would start, and then another neighbor would start. And we would actually run as fast as we can to see if we could it was a race. We would see how quick who won that race that night to get back home. And I'm telling you, Rob, this brings back so many memories of you know what? They had to beat us with a stick to get us in the house. We just didn't sit in the house. There was nothing to do in the house. We wanted to be out playing in the woods, making forts, hitting each other with sticks, whatever, playing sports, you name it, hide and go seek. Everybody's done that kind of thing. And we had this little perfect area that we could work in and do that kind of thing. But we would wait for each mom to call us in. It was so cool.
Yeah.
How about you, man?
I didn't really have that experience. When I lived in Albany, I had to be home sometime before dark after the street lights came on. That was my window. But once I moved down here with my grandparents, I came in when the skeeters got too bad.
Okay.
But now I'm a fisherman. I grew up fishing. I grew up fishing with a cane pole down here in the creek. And I could get far enough down the creek where I couldn't hear them call me when they wanted me to come home.
Uh-oh.
I can get far enough down or up the creek to where I couldn't hear the car horn. So my grandmother got this big cast iron bell. And let me tell you something. I couldn't get far enough away where I couldn't hear that bell when she rang it. She'd go out there and pull the rope, and that meant it was time to come home. They fixed that.
And you know what? The beauty of it is in our day, there wasn't a fear that somebody was going to hurt us. It was just to get us in and get us a bath and get in the bed for school. We get a little bit later sometimes on the weekends, but my mom was pretty liberal about the weekends. I really didn't have a bedtime Sunday night I did for school. But Friday night, Saturday night, I could stay up as late as I wanted as long as I was behaving. I could play, read, whatever I wanted to do. But through the week, I had early on, it was probably earlier, but I remember 9 o'clock was, and so it's not far when it got dark in the summertime. That's pretty close to 9. It's not just far off. So you just have a few minutes. And so, and of course, you already had to have your homework done before you ever got outside. So homework's already done. You got to get a bath and you got to get your pajamas on. You got to get in the bed and you got to go sleep.
Yeah.
And
or at least fake it.
Well, sometimes that would happen, but my dad, he would work 2 jobs a lot, and he would come in a lot of times around 11:30. I have had him just open the door a little bit, kind of see if I was stirring or anything. I usually went to sleep though. After we'd played so hard and everything, I was really tired. Plus, getting up for school, that came early.
Yeah.
And I went to bed dreaming. My dream was that there wouldn't be no school the next day, like most kids. Be a snow day or ice, or the power went out, or heaters wasn't working at the school, or the buses broke down. You could think of all kind of different things.
Yeah,
get a free.
Maybe today. Maybe tomorrow's the day.
Maybe. I remember one time it was really cold. My mom sent me out. Of course, bus picks us. I'm right out there, but I went out there. You always have to be out there before. And I was just out there, like it was really cold, and the bus didn't come. So I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited. And, we didn't have all this technology back then. So I went back in. Mom says, "What are you doing?" I said, "It's cold." I said, "The bus hasn't showed up." And she says, "Well, I wonder what's happened." So she said, "Warm up, but keep a lookout out the window for the bus." So I did. And so what did we do back in those days? You turned on your morning news. It was local. Whatever TV station that was, you had somebody you watched, and they didn't have that technology either, but somebody would pass them a piece of paper or something, and they would say, "Hey folks, we've got an announcement. If you're in such and such county schools, there's no school today." Sometimes somebody would call the school, you could find out, but if everybody's calling, you couldn't get through.
Right.
But eventually they sort of put out a message, but that was years later. But I remember that one morning, Mom says, well, they've canceled school. There was some ice on a couple of roads coming down some hills, and so they've canceled all the school. I don't think she was
Really?
happy about that. She enjoyed my time at school, so she could,
Yeah.
not have kids around. She loved me, but like most moms or dads, they're a little bit of their own time. And
Yeah.
so I'll never forget how excited I was. But the best one is when you got up and you didn't know it snowed, and you went
Yeah.
to the door and you opened it up, and that's when you would call Mom, there's going to be no school today. And she wouldn't believe me. She'd say, you're lying. I'd say, I don't lie. And she'd go out there and of course, your mom or something, she'd say, well, golly, or whatever. And say, well, I guess you're not going to school today. But Mama's calling us in. Mama's calling us to come to dinner. Maybe for some it was the dinner bell. You said a bell, but that dinner bell, whether it was hollering or whether it was yelling or whatever. And of course, we didn't want to miss meals either, so that was always a good trigger to get in. But you tried to get back outside after you ate your meal so you could play a little more.
Right.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, I got my homework done. Yes, ma'am, I'll get my bath as soon as I get in. Can I, go back out for 30 minutes or something? I think we all angled for a little more time. Let me have a little more time outside with my friends. And there would always be one mom that wouldn't let their kid come back out, so it ended up being a smaller group. It wouldn't always, and sometimes I would be that kid. So it was never the same size group. It would be a little smaller. You talk to them at school next day or when we got home or whatever, and they say, yeah, mom or dad wouldn't let me come out. And so it was never
a little bit.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
the best time. We had the best time while you were inside. Oh, we did this and we did that. You missed all the good stuff.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's what you do.
And then the next time they're like, oh, you got to let me go out. I'll miss all the good stuff again.
Yeah, and they're getting on to me, Their mom's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh.
Mama calling us in. Nowadays, think of the difference, dude. Cell phones. Yeah. Cell phones. Call the kids, hey, come on in. It's fixing to get dark. I mean, that is gone forever, man. I mean, I'm not saying for everybody. Maybe there's somebody still does it. But I can tell you, one, I'm not a kid anymore. And two, I do exactly the same thing. My granddaughters are old enough that they have a cell phone, which I'm not going to go down that road. There's things I can pick at it about, but I really enjoy it because I can stay in constant communication with them. And I can text them or I can call them and say, hey, let's go. It's time to go. Save my throat, no hollering or whatever, and of course that's grandkids. But, with our kids, I guess we did some of that. We didn't have cell phones for most of the time that they were growing up, maybe even until they were about grown. But it's different, but everybody's got different experiences. I mean, we all have that, but I will never forget that. It's one of the, we get older, we reminisce a lot, and reminiscing's fun, reminiscing about things. Yeah. And this is just one of those really feel good things for us to sit up on that hillside in a wood. It was a wood line, and it wasn't a big hill or nothing. It was just a little bit, and to wait on our moms to come out and call us in. And now I don't have my mom, and I'll cherish that stuff. I cherish those memories. I try to make memories with my kids. I try to make them with my grandkids. And one day they'll look back and say, remember when your grandpa called you to come in on the phone? I don't know, but we have those things. And you talked about. I'll say one more thing, but you talked about going far away. In our day, we might be a little further away. We could have rode our bikes 3 streets over, and we might not have heard them. Of course, we knew to get back when it got dark.
We knew about what time.
About what time? Yeah, we might have pushed it just a little bit, but it was not uncommon for us to ride our bikes up to stores and around town a little bit, and you knew people all around the neighborhoods around you because you rode your bike.
Yeah.
And sometimes that could be territorial, man. That could be a little dangerous because some neighborhoods they didn't want you in their neighborhood. It could become not like a gang thing, but maybe it's kinda where kids would say, hey, what are you doing in our neighborhood or something like that. We didn't have nothing bad, but we just challenge each other to a basketball game or a softball game. Yeah, I know. Did you ever have that, Rob, where you played by neighborhoods? Like maybe in your area you didn't, but we would have. You would take on the street. Like our street will take on your street in a baseball game or a basketball game or whatever, football game. And that was kind of cool. I do have those memories as well.
See, I didn't. The way I grew up, I mean, it's a little bit different. It was out here in the boonies, and sometimes you'd have a friend spend the night, or you spend the night there, or they'd hang out till after dark sometimes. But when we were older, and they'd drive home, but it wasn't like that for me. It's a little bit different.
Well, you was a little more rural, and I was suburban. Not a huge town, but close to town. And so the neighborhoods, the houses are close together, and not bad, but you had neighborhoods, and it was common for us to do that. Put sports together and challenge. I can remember friends coming to my door, and I love basketball, and they'd say, "Hey, the such and such street kids are over here, and they've challenged us to a basketball game. We got to have you, man." And so it'd be on a Saturday morning or something. You'd get your cereal down. You was watching cartoons or whatever, and you went off and played a challenge against another street. Sometimes we won, sometimes we lost, but those are awesome memories.
An underlying element to this, though, from either my grandmother blowing the horn or ringing the bell or your mom calling you in, there's an underlying element that goes through both sides of it. There was care and there was love and there was concern.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that was a good example of it. Okay, you need to come inside. You need to get a bath. You need to get your rest. You've got stuff you've got to do tomorrow. It was care. It was concern. It was love. And that was one of the ways that they showed it. If they didn't care, they'd let you stay out there all night long.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
They have to deal with, but they did care.
Well,
and it was concern and love.
And I will say this I've been a parent, I'm a grandparent, and I'm raising a granddaughter, and didn't know I was going to be doing that. It's been an honor and a blessing. There's just something about having your family all home and safe, that sanctuary of home. When my granddaughter spends the night somewhere, I don't sleep as good. Not because I think she's in danger. She's not at home. And I have this really big connection to home. And one of the awesome things is when you hear a child say, "Let's go home." Some people miss how important that is. And there are kids who don't have a home.
Right.
Like those animals too that we talk about at Animal Rescue Alliance. They don't have a home. That's a home, but it's not really a home. They're doing what they can for them. They love them, but they need a home. Well, there's kids like that. And I'm not putting kids that equal the dogs or cats, and some would say that's fine, but I don't want to cause a controversy. I'm just saying home is, when we rescued our little dog, for Kaylee, this became her home. And they became very bonded. So she's a part of the family. People that are animal lovers will get that. But, some kids are bounced around so much. And even if they're with the same people, they move a lot. Yeah. They move constantly. They'll stay somewhere 3 months and they're moving, and they're staying one step ahead of the landlords and being evicted and whatever else. And I'm not putting down anybody. It's just the truth. And hard times are getting harder, and there's a lot more of that going on. And so, like the kids in school, they make a friend. The next thing you know, that kid's gone to another school, maybe another state. And I know there's always been that, some with military and people, have to move like that. But it's become a real problem, and these kids don't have home. Home is the car because they keep moving. It's a hotel room. It might be a campground for a time, or a camper, or staying with friends or family for a few days. And once they get a place that's home, they don't keep it long. They move again, and that's really sad. And I told my wife one day, I said, it's the sweetest sound to hear when a child says, "I want to go home." I love it. It's deep within our soul. And I'll just throw that spiritual part of it there. We're designed that way because our Heavenly Father wants us to come be home with Him. And one day we will, if we're a believer and trusted Christ as our Savior and been forgiven of our sins. It's the idea of my heavenly home now. So when a saint is soon to depart, they'll say, "Well, I'm fixing to see my heavenly home. I'll
Yeah.
I'll see you. I'll see you when you get there. But I'm going home. Oh, there's that great song in the Redback hymnal, "Going Home," or I think it's called. Oh, love that song. Going home.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been fun. Mama said, called you in. What'd they call you? Did they call you Robert? Rob? What'd they call you? Did they have a nickname for you?
We can't say that on here. We're not allowed to.
Ah, so we don't have a bleeper here, beep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's more like, Robert, get your in here.
I got you. Hey,
Yeah.
folks, this is fun. Mama said, we enjoy these episodes. We hope you do too.
All right. Love you guys. Y'all have a great day. And we'll see you next time right here on Southern Fried Podcast. And make sure y'all like and follow. We love every one of those follows. We're hitting some
Yes.
milestones. And
We're going live soon, Robert. We're going live. It's coming.
By the end of the month.
Yes. Mama
Soon.
said.
Mama said, go live. Go live or go home.
Salute. Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
For another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.